All right, number 19 is the same thing. Create a truth table. This one also has only the letters P and Q, so there will only be 4 rows. And I'm doing this again. And I've got the negation of, and if P, then Q. And then another if then, P and negation of Q. I'm going to put in my columns. The negation needs a column. The P, the if then, the Q, the if then, the P, the and the negation of Q. If you want to put in the rows, there's the 4 rows. Okay, and then I'm going to do any copying from this table here. I have 2 columns that have a P, so I will copy P, which is true, true, false, false. And this one is another P, true, true, false, false. And then I have a Q, so this is true, false, true, false. And that's all the copying that I shall do. Okay, so now, first thing I'm gonna do, I guess I'll just go left to right. The first set of parentheses has this if then on it, so that's the first thing I'll calculate. So if P, then Q. On the if thens, the only time that you will have a false is when it's if true, then false, which is the second one. My P was a true, my Q was an F. If true, then false is a false. And the rest of them are trues. And then if I continue on, the parentheses has a negation on it. So if I do that, I'm going to negate what I just did in the green. And the green is true, false, true, true. So the negation would be false, true, false, false. Okay. The second set of parentheses has this negation, so that's going to be the next thing I do. And to get this one here, I'm going to have to come over and look at Q and negate it. So Q is true, false, true, false. The negation would be false, true, false, true. And then I'm going to do this and in between. That will be step 4. So I'm going to look at column P and then the column that I just did, the negation of Q. But I have to do an and on an and, the only time you get a true is when they're both true. True and true is right there. Everything else has at least one F, so the other 3 boxes have F's in them. And then that brings me to my last step, which I'll do in a hot pink color. I've got this if then symbol here. This is going to be step 5. And to get this column, I have to compare the last thing I did over here, which was this blue column. That's going to be my if. If this blue stuff, then the last thing I did over here was the purple. So I have to look at these. If these, then these. And you have to visually ignore everything else. And you have to remember it's an if then. And the only time I ever get a false on an if then is when you have an if true, then false. This is the only one that has an if true. And then it's a then true. So that's true. And there isn't any other, so they're all true. So this is a tautology. When I look at this, this is my final column. It's all T's. That's a tautology. And that means that this is a valid, this thing that we were given right here, it's a valid statement. whatever the P's and the Q's and words represent. We're just doing the truth table. So, and that's number 19.